let's dive directly into my presentation. So I have 7 points to cover. So the first one is motivation, why automated testing is maybe interesting. Then we are talking about the testing pyramid from Mike Cohn. Do you know it? Okay, Damir, of course. Then, yeah, to make it not too complex, we cover simple or one process, receipts of payment, Zahlungseingänge. And then we are looking on unit testing, the foundation, and how did we cover integration and regression testing with one of my clients in Switzerland? And how is the CI/CD integration right now running? And it was or is a project running in Switzerland, automated testing, and I will talk a little bit about the lesson learned so far. So why is it a good idea to test? Do you do test when you are developing? That's great. Do you do it manually? Do you do unit tests? Yeah, that's cool. So when we are developing and there's no big test coverage, that is a real example with one of my clients or companies I work with in Switzerland. I do not want to name it, but there was one little, it was in the end one line code which was changed. Then we did manually testing end to end, and the damage we created was we have to throw away 300,000 documents. They were already printed. Oh, well done. Huh? So one line of code. Great. Huh? The damage was, okay, it was Switzerland, not euro, even more money, 50,000 Swiss francs. Just one change, which was not covered. And of course, damage and reputation. Yeah, you can not really measure it, but it's more, I think, a management case, so that there are managers, they have to satisfy business needs, and then there's a lot of discussion ongoing between managers. Why did it happen? So on and so on. So, and the typical challenges we have in our SAP projects, at least I have so far. So we are doing testing manually, so it's kind of, yeah, if you do it manually, there's a big chance to miss something. We have, of course, tight release deadlines, which makes testing not more easy. And then there is a different perspective between, or language between IT and business units. So what is to test? What do we want to cover? What did the IT? What is testing the business units? And there's a phrase of mine. So if we are not covering our coding with tests, we are just coding until the next production issue. Okay, if we are doing tests, maybe it's the same, but at least if we are testing, the chance to have this big issues in production are more or less big. So why I'm talking about testing, so short introduction of myself. So I'm Martin. My journey so far in SAP, I'm freelance developer and consultant in the Swiss market right now. I started my career 2010, dived into testing 2018. And right now I'm working as software engineering coach together with Damir on the ASE coaching. So that's a program of us. And together with Christian Rum. I'm running a ABAP Clean Coder Academy to work with individuals on their skills, doing some author stuff, And the most interesting, I have hobbies. So if you want to connect with me, I do half marathons, I'm running. I'm super interested in health as general. And I discovered yoga for me. So I like the exercises and short exercise from Brigitte. And that is why. So big applause for Brigitte. Nice. And I asked Brigitte if she could do another exercise during my presentation. So the stage is yours.
Because I'm afraid that maybe connection here. So you stand on your right leg and lift up your left knee. Please stay tuned and straight your back. Very good. Please stand focused. Okay. Put it backwards. And then we do it on the left side. We put our weight on the left side and we put up our right leg. Very good. Just relax. Straight your back. Very good. Only 2 hours more. And put it down. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brigitte. That was a tough one. So after our motivation for automated testing, we want to dive into the test pyramid. So Mike Cohn just invented this one. So there's a test pyramid. So in the bottom layer, we have unit tests. Then layer up, we have integration tests. And then the top of the pyramid is system testing. And on the left and on the right side, you have those lines. So they are signaling us, so unit tests are super fast. They are immediately connected to our development. So we can write them very fast. We have fast feedback. And they are super cheap on the right side. So it's the cheapest thing we can do for testing, unit tests. Then the layer above is integration testing. So integration tests are mostly done in an integration system, not in a development system. We want to release first and then check if our processes are running fine. So we have this border or this hurdle to release our development and then do some integration testing on the integration system. And then we have system tests. So they are mostly end-to-end test, cross-system tests. They are super lazy. We have to cover a lot of systems as well. And so they are the most expensive ones. So, and with this motivation, this pyramid, so the pyramid was invented by Mike Cohn, and he said unit test should be the foundation of a solid test automation strategy because they are fast and they are cheap. So, and our motto could be fail fast. So whenever we are developing some new stuff in the system, we are always doing errors. So we are doing mistakes. We do not have it. But to find these mistakes fast is super interesting, and we get immediately feedback with unit tests. So we are developing unit tests, and we are getting feedback, and on this feedback we can continue developing our software. So system tests are full business process validations. So they are cross-system flows. integration tests that are cross component flows. So, but integration tests we can do in the SAP system. System tests are mostly done cross-system wide. And unit tests, of course, we are doing an SAP system, and we are concentrating on business components. I will dive into it later on in the presentation. So, and who is involved in this test strategy? For the system test, maybe you have this, or you are working for a company or a client, you have this cross-system test teams. They have to cover every flow, every system, and they are creating for the company, for the main flow system test, but they are not super in the, let's, for example, SAP process, but they're doing the whole thing. Then what I want to motivate for, you need for the integration, as an integration test, because there's no standard software, some kind of custom test suite, which is not offered by the SAP standard. What a pity. But unit tests you can always do on ABAP OO implementation. Whenever you are doing ABAP OO implementation, or even you can create test classes as well for function models or older SAP implementation. You have this possibility in the SAP system to create ABAP unit tests because they are fast, they are cheap. That is the most interesting thing you can invest in testing. So, and not only we have this technical issues, maybe you have no test suite, we have to learn about unit testing, we have to maybe learn to test mindset. Whenever you're doing tests, there are a lot of business units involved. We have the IT, then we have the business unit. And I think the most challenging thing in a SAP project is this communication stream. Find the right language between IT and business. And the better the communication is, in my experience, the better is the outcome from the project. And there's no me and you, it is just us. That's because I like yoga so much. It's about connecting people and connecting systems. So this test pyramid in mind, we can want to dive into one process we covered with a test suite with one of my clients. So we have a receipts of payments, Zahlungseingang auf Deutsch, or in German. So we get a XML file from the bank, which is transferred to the SAP system. They are running some processes, mostly standard processes. Or in this case, it's an insurance company. And in the end, we want to see an amount, a booking on the customer account. That's super easy, yeah? Just XML file, some processes, some amount on the customer account. If it were so easy, we do not need consultants. So, and here we have a Kontoauszug, it's a payment slip, so receipt of payment. And in this whole, also in the whole process of picking up the XML file and making the booking on the customer account, there's a single domain process or a single logic, which is reading the purpose of the payment, which can maybe a contract number or a social security number in Switzerland. And this one we want to map on the right account. Do you have the idea or not? So we have this interpretation logic, purpose of payment. In the end, we want to book this amount from the payment slip on a specific customer account on a contract. And this is, although we have the standard process, there is a set logic, so set development, a custom development, and some standard customizing we can use to make this mapping. So that is our development in all the standard process. We are focusing on this one in our example. So unit testing, that is our foundation. Whenever we have a set coding, we can unit test it. And that is the idea here. Our goal is to map the receipt to a specific business partner and contract. Whereas that's a social security number in Switzerland is always starting with a 756 point, then 4 numbers point, 4 numbers point, 2 numbers. So, but of course, the client is not always entering all the points. We have different interpretations. So there's a customizing, it's a regex. That's crazy, yeah? So we do not want to dive deep into it, but there's this, you see this number 756, then maybe you have a point or not, then you have, yeah, maybe a space, then another 4 numbers. So that's a regex to interpret our payment or purpose of payment. And running integration tests on this one is super effort. So we need a lot of effort to test all these combinations which the client maybe offer us in the purpose of payment. So, and that is a super example to use unit tests. We are writing one local test class, and we can add a lot of unit tests as those test methods just for testing in the prefix of the definition. And there we have the possibility to run a lot of tests. So we can say, okay, this is the number we want to have. So that is the example from the purpose of payment. Then we are running maybe our function model, our domain logic method. And then there's an outcome, and in the outcome we can test with an assert. Super easy, and we can create a lot of unit tests here to cover all these different combinations which you can imagine has this regex. Super fast and super comfortable. Oh, it's a kind of animation problem here. So the principles we are using to create this unit test are, we need to determine the interfaces and create boundaries responsibilities. So in our case here, we just want to test this regex. So if the purpose of payment get this number or is this number, then we want to have this outcome. That's a very specific logic or domain logic in our whole process. We do not want to cover with unit tests the whole SAP main flow. So that is why we are creating interfaces, boundaries. We say we want to test until here, and the rest is SAP standard. We do not have to test it because SAP is running its own tests. If they are doing or not, we are not sure, but we have this external or this external component, and we do not. It's the API more or less. It's the API, and we do not take the responsibility to test it also. We just test our set logic we are creating, our developing. So yeah, and then that's why we are isolating our business logic in a domain class. It's testability, and to create unit tests, we have to arrange the data. So what is the input? Then we have to act. Act is like we are running a function model with the input data, and then we're getting an output or return value, and there we can create an assert, a comparison if the outcome is our expected result. In the best case, you are doing a test-driven whenever you are creating, because the most interesting thing is if you are doing test-driven, this refactoring step, when you have this green unit test, you can refactor your logic as far as you want. So to make your code cleaner, and as some words Nico said in his presentation before, that was great. It was, you are doing clean code or you have a huge brain. Nico, where are you? Still here? Hi, thanks for this. And Inessa also told us it's a good idea to do unit tests. Unit tests are great, I think, were your words. So this unit testing and test-driven developing is super interesting for clean code purposes. But what are the advantages creating those? Or what are the advantages? Unit tests are super easy to enhance. So we can create another unit test. We get super fast feedback. We do not have to ask the business unit to test it. We can test it ourselves by creating a unit test. We're getting confidence by baby steps. If you are doing TDD, we are not creating the whole logic at once. We are creating step by step, getting confidence. And in the end, we are getting to our goal to create a component. Yeah, the most interesting thing is refactoring to get clean code. And if we are doing unit tests, at least we need to understand a little bit the business logic. And that is the point where the communication to the business unit have to be created. So if you are unsure what to test, then go to the business unit and ask them what is the expected result. So that is a very interesting technique to get better communication in the company. So we covered the unit tests. So our tests are all running green, but we have still the problem to automate our integration testing in SAP. So what is our goal? We want to automate our testing to make it future proven. And if we have tests running, then we are much more like to refactor our coding. Whenever we are doing manual testing, there's not a, or just asked in the round, if you did your manual test on a component and want to release and you need to change something, are you comfortable to change it again? Or refactoring it again? No, but if you are running automated tests and the tests are still green in the end, that's a cool thing. So you are much more likely to change the code and do refactoring in the end. So we want to automate to make our own process better. As developers, we want to minimize business effort. So business units they have never time to test. So it's good if they are not to have too much to test. And then another point is continuous delivery pipeline. We want to release as fast as possible. So the challenges in the SAP systems, do you know some test automation integrations in the SAP standard? Do you know it? They have some? Tosca. Okay.
SAP scripts?
Hmm?
Can we use SAP scripts, basically?
Can you
But I'm not
mute
sure if
you, please, online?
Oh yeah.
That was a question. Sorry.
How about SAP test scripts? Is it possible to do an automation based on test scripts from SAP?
Is it
In
possible?
GUI, we have some options to run some test scripts. So for this case, I'm not sure if this can also cover the integration between different systems.
That's a good question. I don't know, but maybe it's a solution. But at least you have to create a lot of scripts.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, maybe it is on a higher one.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a UI testing. I don't know. Could be. Yeah, could be. Yeah. Then maybe you can do integration and regression tests as well with it. So far I did not know, and SAP, there's no integration in the ECC system so far. ECAD, yeah, ECAD is running, but there you have, no, not the problem, you have to create all the tests as well. So it's a framework, but yeah. So that is another possibility to integrate ECAD. Genau, and the second challenge is manual testing, not popular, error prone, if done, no further changes. So whenever we did manually our test, then yeah, we are not super likely to change something. So what did we do with one of my clients? So we have this, in the end, we created an own software component running SAP system to cover this standard processes from SAP. And in our example, receipts of payment, we need in the very beginning to create a new business partner. We always need a business partner. Then we need a contract to make the booking on. And if we have a contract and a business partner, we have this XML file from the bank running the receipt of payment processes. And in the end, if everything is fine, we have this booking on our customer account and running a validation on it. So all automated. And in the SAP system, yoo-hoo, SAP GUI screen. So we have here the account of the business partner, the contract, and the amount haben soll. So that is our booking. Running a validation is a booking was booked on the account. All automated. So that is the SAP GUI is a SAP customer solution running is SAP GUI so far. So it's a Dympro. And here on the left side, you see the test cases, it's just a tree. And on the right side, we are seeing our test cases above. In the test case, we have different scenarios. The first one is creating the booking. So we are creating a business partner and the contract. And then we are running the receipt of payments process. And yeah, in the end, we are doing a validation on the Kontostand to prove if our booking was successful. So, and this integration and regression testing, that is the SAP flow. So we are testing from the XML inbound. We are running the process from the inbound file to the contract booking and checking the contract booking if it was fine. And here you see the monitor. So we are running those tests every night. And on the integration system. And then we get an email and a dashboard. That's not the real one. I just covered it here or duplicated here. So there we see, okay, that's our pass tests, our failed ones, those ones with error. So we have this integration regression testing on the SAP system automatically in the integration system every night. So where did we start? We start with manual testing, and that is huge. We tested on the dev system, ourselves, the developers. We tested the integration system as well. And then there was a product owner testing on the UAT and the business users as well testing on the UAT system. So matching the amount of effort we needed to run all the tests. We had no reusable test data. That's always a problem because whenever you're going to the UAT system or dev system, you have to create the test data. And if you want to test, or if you have the same experience to test SAP standard processes, you always need a lot of data up front to get in the situation to run your process. So, and we always had to support the business users as well. And with this test suite, we are now here. So we have this automated test on the integration system, which is fully integrated in the SAP system. It is extendable and customizable. We can create new tests per run. So whenever we are running a test case, we are creating new business partner, new contract, and we have no dependencies on other contracts as well. And we are able to compare expected to current test outcome, which is very interesting to not have a look in every test case we are running. So how look our CI/CD integration right now? So on the dev system, we always do and still doing the development using unit tests to cover our set logic and to run ATC checks to cover the requirements on the coding. Then in the integration test system, every night we are running the test cases automatically and getting email on the dashboard to visualize the results. And the UAT system, because the confidence is so strong right now, the business unit is, if it's just SAP, it's just the SAP's processes, they're deciding if they need more manual end-to-end tests. It's a very tricky adjustment on the processes, then they are doing manual end-to-end tests. And if not, then they are trusting on the integration tests and they are not doing a lot of or no tests additionally. And if they are assigned the process and the release, then it's going to production. So, and where did we win a lot of time and in the end, a lot of money? using unit testing, the integration testing as well. So we do not do double tests anymore. And we save a lot of time for the business unit. They are not doing so many manual tests anymore. So, and that was the argumentation why we have created this test suite with the client. And our lessons learned so far, yeah, where do you start? Do you know the 28 rule, Pareto? So cover the 20% who is the most critical processes in your company, and start there. Concentrate on the key business objects and critical components. It is very important to have the unit tests clean, have the test data clean and stable, and also the most thing we like as developers, documentation. Document your test cases and the processes you are developing. So, and then we have this communication thing between business unit and developers. Make it visible. Whenever you are developing something, if it's test or not, make it visible. And include the business unit in your decisions, because the learning for myself is when they are included and there is something happening in a production system, there's no figure pointing because you did it all together. So you on the development side and the business unit on the other side, but there's no us or them, or there's no me or you, or there's just us. So, and that I downloaded, so the arrows are here, some kind of not well placed. So then the big thing is when you are doing unit tests, then the integration end-to-end tests are going down. So you can communicate with the business unit, or we already covered all the logic with our payment of receipt receipt or payment interpretation. We do not have to create 10 integration tests to cover the logic, because we have created unit tests which are faster and more cheap. So in general, a thing that was slogan of one of my colleagues, when you're doing testing, it is about saving money long term, but not only. It is more about buying confidence and building reputation. Imagine the situation when the business unit is telling you, okay, Martin, or whoever, whatever name is yours, you tested it. I'm pretty sure everything is fine. We can go to production. And there's no need to, if you get this confidence and this reputation in your own company, it's very interesting to feel it. And yeah, I think we all want to do a good job. And yeah, we as developers, I think we have to learn the business language to communicate better. And if you are doing automated testing, you can focus much more on refactoring. And the outcome from refactoring is clean code, bigger brain. No, it's shrinking. Danke, Damir. Thank you. So, thanks for showing up. Do you have any questions on the presentation so far?
think it's often not easy to decide what amount of code should be tested, especially if you have an integration test. For example, in this booking example, you may have an external system that provides XML, so you have to mock it or start with, should you mock the system or should you start with the XML string? Can you give some advice what makes really sense, or a rule of thumb what really makes sense to amount of coverage within a single unit test, integration test, I mean?
So yeah, the advice is good. So there's no, someone of my colleagues before say there's no always a 100% solution. So what in my experience is you need to make some boundaries, responsibilities, where to start with your tests and what to cover in your tests. And we are focusing a lot on set logic. So, and for this end-to-end, the end-to-end test is a SAP end-to-end test, which we are covering in SAP system. So we are saying the responsibility for us is to cover the SAP process. And we are mocking, or we are taking XML production file, anonymize this. And then we have productive like data, and those one we are taking for our test cases. So it is productive, is a production file, a productive inbound file, but we mock it in the case that we are changing the business partner name, that it is, and the address data. But we are starting with this bank file. That's our starting point. Our endpoint in this case is the contract where the booking is placed. And then you have, of course, you have this whole end-to-end process from the feeder system going to the endpoint is SAP contract. So that is a manual test. But that one you are just have to run once if you have a release management and a test team who is covering all the processes. Okay.
Make clear what the boundaries in beforehand and talk with the business unit.
Absolutely, yeah. Long story short, yeah. Define the boundaries, what you want to test and what is your responsibility to test. And giving away the responsibility for our components. So we are not testing standard. We are not testing every standard function model we are using in the process. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but the decision is sometimes a bit difficult to do. For example, as an example from our company, we invoke Google Maps or Azure Maps for geocoding addresses because they need the geocode afterwards. The question is now, what should we do in the unit test for this? Because we have to pass the result we get from Google Maps and extract the coordinates from that. So we could either download such a file from Google, the response that you receive in JSON, whatever, and then store it and use this to pass. But this is, well, the problem is that sometimes, for example, Google Maps makes slight changes in their UI, in their API. And so the return forward might drift slightly. Yeah. We might document it, they might not document it. Yeah. And this is why we said, okay, yeah, well, pure logic of unit tests would say no, don't do that. But what we're doing now is inside our unit test we call the actual Google API and try to pass what we get from there. And we have several test addresses we put there, especially we know of some boundary conditions that we are testing, and yeah, and that all already saved us in a few places when there were slight changes in the API. So yeah, that's always a bit, you have to look at, I think, on the case per case basis. So if you can easily, as in this case, you can easily call that API and get the result back. Yeah, it's of course not so easy to get some bank statements with a test call. Yeah, it would be nice, of course, if such a bank API, there would be also a test API endpoint which delivers some test data, so that you could even do a bit more integrated test done. Yeah, but that's, as I said, I think that's really has to be decided on case by case.
Thanks. I'm not sure we have still time. Okay.
If I understood the team question right, two information little. In Cloud ALM, when you scope an SAP process, you get not only all the visualization, and so on, but you get also test scripts, very large, very detailed test scripts. And the second information in Cloud S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition, there is an automation testing facility with already pre-delivered, automated, and post-upgrade tests, just as an information.
Sorry, last words. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much that you are still here. On the concert, I learned in the community talk. Yeah, we'll talk about it.